sun is racing.
Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the Rubbin' Is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. We're coming to you with all the action from the Quaker State 400 at Kentucky Speedway. We have a repave and a new downforce package for this 1.5-mile intermediate track. This weekend, you'll get to see a lot more speed at this 267-lap, 400.5-mile affair. There'll be a premium on laps led and on fastest laps this weekend, so you're going to need to keep that in mind when you're setting your lineups. We have had qualifying washed out due to thunderstorms, so the field is set this week on the Sprint Cup standings. There's also a 50% chance of thunderstorms before, during, and after the race this week, which is scheduled to run at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC Sports Network. Remember, we switched over from Fox to NBC Sports, so make sure you're on the right channel or set the recording for the right channel. Hopefully we'll get this race in, and now, as you can see, we're down a guy, so you won't get to hear Liehr's burning rubber baby screaming it, but Adrian and I'll get you all that action. With that said, Adrian, who's your guy to burn some rubber this week? Your first guy.
Yeah, this is my guy right here. Kyle Busch, driver of the number 18 Toyota Camry for Joe Gibbs. The guy's just been getting it done all year, and, last season, and his win here last season was kind of the breaking point that sent his season down the direction that it did, leading in that first championship for Kyle Busch. But since the field was set on owner points, he'll be starting from the sixth. He has the most laps led at Kentucky among all active drivers, which shows Kyle can put that number 18 car in the win. And Poppa said the laps led are going to be a premium. Kyle Busch, does that better than anyone else here in the Bluegrass State. He has 2 wins in 5 Kentucky starts, 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s in those 5 races. And over his 5 races at Kentucky, he's led 118 laps, 0 laps, but he finished 5th, 31 laps, and 163 laps. That's just the kind of production you need. And honestly, at his price tag, he's kind of underpriced if he can perform like that. Like history shows that he can at this track. Kyle Busch's stats here are just mind-blowing. And he's completed every single lap that he's ran at Kentucky in the Cup Series, which also shows that, he's going to go out there and never get you negative points, which is the thing that can just be the biggest detriment to your lineup. 8 starts at Kentucky in the Xfinity Series for Mr. Busch, 6 top 5s, including 5 in a row, 1 win, and laps led in 7 of 8. And none of these stats are including Saturday night or Friday night's Xfinity race. So Kyle will probably go out there and lead a lot more in that race. But the stats are just there to back it up. Kyle Busch has been, kind of struggling of late. His finish last weekend kind of got him back on the right track. People know I'm not usually someone that picks Kyle Busch, but this is the week I just see it in the water. Kyle sees blood. He's going to go out here at Kentucky and kind of just show these boys, what this Joe Gibbs team has been working on, leading in towards the chase as we get to the halfway point in the season. We'll get into it with our other picks, but if your name hasn't been Kenseth, because you haven't been winning at Kentucky Motor Speedway, so definitely pay attention to those 3 guys this weekend. What do you think, Poppa?
Yeah, dude, I love the Kyle Busch play this week, dude. I don't even have anything negative or anything more to add. The guy just tears up this track. If you're looking in that price range for another similar driver, Jimmy Johnson also has never finished outside the top 10 here at Kentucky. He's $200 cheaper. He has no wins here, but owns these 1.5-mile tracks. I would rather play Kyle Busch, but I just wanted to give that suggestion out there for our viewers that in a similar price range, you could go to the Jimmy Johnson if you really wanted to. Dude, there's not a whole lot to add. Kyle Busch is just the right play, and I think if you want to start your lineups off right, you're going to start them with Kyle, and you're going to start them off with the next guy, which is my first guy to burn rubber, Brad Keselowski. At 9,800, he's just too cheap, first off. Secondly, out of 5 races here, there are 2 drivers who have 2 wins. Kez is the other one. Kyle's the first. His Sprint Cup profile here is a 7th, a 1st, a 33rd when he was wrecked, a 1st, and a 6th. If you throw out the 33rd in 2013, he has led at least 62 laps in every race here at this track. In 2014 on this track, he went 1-1 and led 199 laps. And in 2 Xfinity races here, he's finished first and second with 210 total laps led. Oh, and he gets to start on the front row this week thanks to starting on driver points. Look, Keselowski loves Kentucky. If you aren't playing Keselowski this weekend, I think you're doing something wrong in daily fantasy. Adrian, your thoughts?
I actually think they need to rename this place Kentucky. You notice actually, I had like a verbal miscue when I was trying to talk about Kyle Busch at the end there, and I accidentally almost said Kentucky because I just think it fits so well. And Brad Keselowski owns this track. I mean, he's just so good here, and the stats are just there to back it up. He's won here before. Penske is really fast on these mile-and-a-half tracks. And, Brad is one of those guys who just knows how to fight on a long run on these mile-and-a-half tracks and can serve tires better than most guys. Most of Brad's wins have came at, sneakily at mile-and-a-half tracks. The tracks like Kansas and Las Vegas and those narrow tracks, just like Kentucky. That's where Brad makes he falls in the same category. I didn't mention it with Kyle Busch, but when these drivers run this Xfinity race on this new track that they don't have any other laps on, and with practice being so weird and sporadic and track time being kind of so limited in the Cup Series, if they can get into another car, and it doesn't matter what kind of tires the Xfinity cars have or anything like that. If they can just get track time, it's really beneficial to them. And you'll notice guys like Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney and Ty Dillon and a lot of these guys that are going out there and running double duty are learning a lot, and they have a lot they can bring to the Cup side that will help them excel on Saturday night. So he's all over my lineups. I really love pairing him and Kyle Busch, and I think that's where you start your lineups this week.
Yeah, dude, him and Kyle Busch basically start pretty much every lineup that I've put together so far. With that said, who's your second guy to burn some rubber this week, bud?
Been running well this weekend. The first practice, I saw a little bit of potential out of him. But I'm not worried about it at all, guys. I'm rolling with Chase Elliott, driver of the number 24 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet. For Rick Hendrick Motorsports, that team's just been so strong all year long. He's starting in the 8th position, which shows that he's 8th in points, which is just incredibly impressive for a rookie driver to, go out there and, he's with one of the best teams in the sport and taking over such an iconic ride like Jeff Gordon's. But to go out there and he's halfway into the chase grid, it just says volumes about the team and, the strength that they have. And starting in the 8th position, I see no reason that Chase Elliott can't dig up there into the top 5 and, really focus on the main prize. I listened to his media center this weekend, and Chase says he doesn't really worry about a lot of the things that go on the track and how they keep changing the package and stuff. He says that they're going to take whatever rules they have and they're going to adapt to them. And Chase said he's going to focus on the main prize. And the main prize for that team is to the door. He says that he's not going to be happy until there's some stickers on the door of that 24 car. And he's every bit as capable this weekend as Kyle Busch, I think, and being a lot less cheap at $9K. So just getting into some of the stats for Chase Elliott this weekend, starting in the 8th position, he has 14 top 10s and 20 starts so far in 2016. Since Talladega, his fantasy points have been 43, 41, 56, 41, 70, and 74. And then you have the last 2 weeks, which were a little bit of a struggle, being the curveball tracks almost. And a new service kind of evens the playing field for Chase Elliott and Alan Gustafson and that 24 team, because it just gives them that opportunity to see things on a fresh new slate that all these other teams are, and see who can adapt to it the quickest. And that's what's going to be most fun to see on Saturday night, is which team is the best at this point in the season, who can be given a new package, a new tire, and a new track, and go out there and attack it. And I think this team is young and hungry. And I think this is the night that Chase really goes up there and contends for a win. And it's going to be tough to beat Kyle Busch and Brad Logano and those guys. But there's no reason Chase can't go up there and get a top 5. And if he's running top 5, he's going to get some fastest laps. So I really love the play at $9K. And it's just, I don't really know what else to say. I just really feel it for Chase.
Yeah, look, his price is inflated all the way up to $9K, which I think is going to discourage some ownership from him, which makes me like the play even more. I also think that what happened the last 2 weekends is going to keep his ownership percentage down. If you can sneakily get him to do what he's supposed to do at this track, and he does what he's done most of the year, he might be that sneaky play that helps you win GPP lineups this week. I actually really like the Chase Elliott play this week. I think you're spot on with your analysis there. And I think it transitions us well into another driver that is just he's honestly a little overpriced, just like Elliott, for your comfort zone here. But I think that's going to drive ownership percentages down on him, and that's Joey Logano at 10-1. In his last 3 races here, he's finished 4th, 9th, and 2nd. He's also led 60 laps, all of which came in the last 2 starts here at Kentucky. Team Penske's on a tear, and both drivers and their teams have really good history here. All signs are pointing to Team Penske keeping up this heater that they're on. Joey Bag of Donuts could get it done and can lead laps as he starts right behind his teammate in Keselowski. Now, this is a really interesting position for you to own the pair of them, as I think they'll team up together and run really well together up front, leading laps, and they may even trade off to try to save some tires to help lengthen the runs. I honestly do not know if he will do any more than finish second right behind his teammate. But even at that, I think you'll be happy to have Logano. I think you're going to get him at a lower ownership percentage than most of the other guys on this track. Adrian, what are your thoughts this week?
Yeah, I mean, Joey Logano's track history is just there. He's just one of those guys at a 1.5-mile track who had success and who can continue to have success. Last year when Kyle Busch won this race, he had to pass Joey Logano to get it done. And this is another one of those tracks that Joey Logano really thrives in. With it being a new track, I really like the pairing of Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano this week. Joey's price is a little up there. I feel like there's a lot of, if you don't pick Joey, there's a lot of other guys that you can really go down towards and feel a lot more comfortable about the rest of your lineup. But it really depends on who you see lead race. And if you can see Joey Logano going out there and taking the lead, then yeah, I think it's a great pick. And, I think a lot of people are probably wondering, Poppa, how we think the start of the race is going to go, because I think a lot of people are kind of wondering, who do I pick? Because, the driver that jumps out to the lead always, leads all the laps and gets all the fastest laps. Well, we see that Kevin Harvick's out on the pole. And we've already been through our Brendan Rubber picks, and neither one of us took Kevin Harvick. So what does that say? It says that we don't think that Kevin Harvick's going to be able to hang with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
We'll think Harvick will go out there and lead, but we just think Brad Keselowski and these Penske guys, the Gibbs cars, we just think that they have something, and they're not maybe showing all their hands. And I'm not necessarily sure that Kevin Harvick is as good at Kentucky to hang with these guys. I'm not sure his long run speed's going to be there. So I'm not going to pay up for Kevin Harvick this week. I don't know about you guys. But, yeah, I mean, as far as the Joey Logano play, he's one of those guys that costs a lot of money. But if you think that's which is what he's going to have to do at that price tag, he's good at Kentucky, and he can definitely get it done.
Yeah, if you notice, Harvick's team over the course of the season, they haven't been really good at short runs. They've been really good at long, extended runs, and that's where they make up the majority of their time. That's why they've been qualifying low, and that's why they've been a phenomenal play for daily fantasy, right? When he qualifies high, that car is going to fall back from the beginning, and I don't see it leading laps. And the only way that Harvick gets it done is if there's a long run towards the end, at the end of the race, and then he gets back winning. I still don't think he's going to lead a lot of laps. I don't think he's going to be the fastest car on the track. That's just not what that car has done all season so far this year, even though it's been one of the top cars out. I just think that you're better off fading him this week, and I know that's hard to say about the number 1 point leader in NASCAR, but I think from a DFS standpoint, it's just better for you to do that. Adrian, with that said, I think we're ready for value plays. Who you got for us for value this weekend, buddy?
Oh, boy, can you guys tell who my value play is this week? Of course, he drives the motorcraft car. It's Ryan Blaney. Anybody who keeps up with NASCAR, kind of knows the tear that Ryan Blaney has been on in the 2016 season. Really going out there with his single cars. He had some pretty big shoes to fill. Fill in for a former Daytona 500 winner in Trevor Bayne, but I think he's gone out there and done a great job this season. I think he's ready to go out there and get more top fives. I think he's ready to contend for more wins. And I actually think Kentucky's a track where he can get that done. He's actually had very decent success at Kentucky over the years. This is his first time he's racing at Kentucky in the Sprint Cup Series. But he is starting in the 15th position, which gives him a lot of potential for place differential. We already see cars. Those are Poppa's 2 burning rubber picks. So these cars are built in pretty much the same shop. The parts come from the same place. With Wood Brothers having that Penske alliance. And so I don't see any reason if Brad and Joey are going to go out there and be successful this weekend. I don't see any reason that good old Ryan Blaney can't go out there and get it done too. The World Truck Series starts at Kentucky with finishes of 11th, 5th, 3rd, and 3rd, leading laps in 3 of those 4 races. 5 Xfinity starts here. Finishes of 15th, 9th, 1st, 5th, and 1st, which is 2 wins, 2 of those 5 races. And he's been known as Mr. 40 all season long, being that he gets a 40-point day just about every time he goes out, barring disaster. And he loves racing at Kentucky. Going to bring Ryan a rocket so he can pilot, into the top 10, and really push forward the efforts to bring one of these open teams. Like all these teams have the charters. With the Wood Brothers being an open team, it'd be really cool if this team can make it in on points, and it really show a lot about how hard the Wood Brothers fight to get to the track every week and compete with these other teams. My pick for this week is Ryan Blaney, as you can tell by my attire. And my arguments. I just love the races. He keeps a good head on his shoulders. And at 7,400, I think this is the week you play, as Bubba Wallace calls him, young Ryan Blaney.
Yeah, look, dude, the Blaney play is just legit. Qualifying 15th because of the starting grid. The problem is I wish it would have been a little lower, but I totally see where you're at. And I think he's very well capable of putting a positive place differential and points there. And he's too cheap for what he is and the tear he's been on. And if you look at his practice speeds, he was better than that, better than the 15th position qualifying, running up near the top 10 in most of the laps. So, in most of the practices, excuse me. I actually love the play, dude. I think you're all in the right spot there, and that's where you want to be. I have 0 issues with playing Blaney this week. The only issue I have is that I like somebody else better for value, and I will talk about them right now. Guys, that's Matt Kenseth at $8,700. And some of you will scream at me again, $8,700 isn't value. If you look at his track history and you followed my arguments for why I tell you that people are value, Kenseth is the man here at Kentucky and is extreme value. At Kentucky, 5 of 5 races, he's finished in the top 10 with a win and 3 top 5s. He has the second best average finish here with a 4.6. In 5 races, his worst finish is 7th. He historically isn't a lap leader here, so know that you're not going to get a whole lot of laps led points. But the race he did win, he did lead 38 laps, and the JGR cars are super fast. He's also starting from the 11th position, which will give you some better place differential with all those JGR cars. The JGR cars look so good this week in both series that I think you have to be on them. That means Edwards at 9,600 is a play. Hamlin at 8,500 is a play. And the proxy team member of JGR, Martin Truex Jr., shout out to Liehr, his favorite driver, who's 10-4 is also in play. Now, remember, Truex, his salary is so high, I think you can get very low ownership percentage on him this week if that's the direction you want to go. I'm not personally there, but I thought I'd throw that out for Liehr since he's sick, homesick. Get feeling better soon, buddy. Adrian, your thoughts on Kenseth this week, man?
All over the Matt Kenseth play, and all the lineups that I built were just based on track history. Matt Kenseth was the spearhead to a lot of those lineups. He's just too good at Kentucky not to roster this weekend. I do not understand. I don't know if you've noticed it, but what is DraftKings thinking here? Like, Matt Kenseth, 4 weeks ago was like one of those 10 KB. For some reason he's an ace. Elliott costs more than him. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Matt Kenseth is way better than that. He's a champion of our sport. He's running with the best team in NASCAR. I just do not see a way that he doesn't pay off his price tag. He's just way too cheap this week. Even if he doesn't go out there and play too much. I mean, the other guys, like if you look at Mark Truex Jr., about how much more he costs than Matt Kenseth to roster, and they're pretty much the same race car. I'm playing Matt Kenseth every time, and he has actually decent place differential because the way they struggled this season. is probably going to be on 90, if not 100% of all lineups.
Yeah, no, I can't agree more, which is why I locked him in at value. Originally, it was going to be my burning rubber play, but I really believe DraftKings egregiously underpriced him, and that's why I had to throw him at value. It's just he should be a staple at that price on your lineups. Adrian, who's your next value guy, man? We're giving you guys a little bonus. We're doing two of each this week since Liehr's not here. Go ahead and give us your value, buddy.
I don't know. Are they ready for it?
Uh-oh.
Are they ready for it? Because I'm Chris Buescher, guys.
Wow.
This is the cheapest guy who's ever been picked on our show. Chris Buescher is running lights out this weekend. I do not know what that Front Row Motorsports team did to that race car, but it's like he got some of that magic juice from Space Jam that Michael Jordan was drinking, because that kid is flying at Kentucky this weekend. I don't know if he just likes the new surface, but he's running way faster than that runs, guys. And because the field is set by owner points, he's starting in the 34th position, which really has me excited. That and his $5,200 price tag. Yes, I said that, $5,200. So there's only like 4 drivers priced lower than this guy. So he's starting in the 34th position. For you superstitious people, he drives the number 34 car. Loves travel stops, putting that car on the racetrack. So 34, maybe that has something. His average finish in 2016 is 27.8, which is automatically going to be 7 positions better than where he's starting if he can just get his average. He has 4 Xfinity starts at the Kentucky Motor Speedway. He finishes of 18th, 7th, 11th, and 7th. And like I said, been running fast all weekend in practice, really impressing people. The announcers, kind of talked about it for a while. They were kind of impressed with the speed that team had just came out of nowhere and shown. And for as far as the final practice, the happy hour, he had the 14th fastest lap. He had the 8th best 5-lap average and the 5th best 10-lap average. And for a guy at the $5,200 price tag, who's producing like that? Because I haven't seen them.
No, I agree with you, dude. And unless we hear something that there's something illegal with what they've done to this car, like, he's a must play at that price tag.
Chris Buescher is on steroids.
I mean, he was driving that car to the wall, like just rails out, just
driving it like the champion he is.
Yeah, I mean, the dude has. Wow, I'm just saying, if they race that car as well as it was set up and running in practice, like he'll have a ride locked down for a while, just based on this race. I just love the place differential. I love the potential there. You stole my value pick. I loved it. But I think that takes me to my value guy, which is the Biff this weekend. I'm rolling the Biffle. At 6,600, the Colonel should be a lock for value this week. And I'm calling him the Colonel because he's driving that KFC Crispy car this week. And I love it. He's starting 23rd, which is 8 spots below his average finish here, which is 15th in the last 2 races. That's an average of 37 fantasy points for your value play, and that is awesome at $6,600 for basically a punt play this week. Aside from it being a nice total there, I think that fails to take into account what Roush Fenway has been doing on the racetrack as of late and how good those cars are. And I think that they're just going to fly up through the field and give you a lot of positive place differential. And I wanted to mention while we're on here that hopefully this will lead you to a lot of money. And when it does, when we get to 1,000 views, we give away the autographed Greg Biffle SpongeBob SquarePants car from Kansas last year, and another 1.5 mile track. So I think Biffle's going to get it done for you. I think that price tag is just criminally low for what he can do here, and as good as the Roush Fenway cars are running, right now. I like. Basically, I have 3 groups of cars that I really like this weekend. And unfortunately, Hendrick isn't really in that group. Adrian, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm kind of groupings, and I don't have any kind of love for Stuart Haas or Hendrick this week.
Yep.
I don't really know what it is, but there's just something that doesn't really have me on those guys. Aside from Chase Elliott now. Chase Elliott's
Right.
my boy. Shout out to Chase. You know.
No, but like there's just
But you know, Greg Biffle's just man. You know, he's only what 6. And you know, the sponsorship from KFC actually goes a long way, guys. I don't know if you noticed when Greg Biffle's running the red paint scheme that says Ford EcoBoost on it. Those are when he ran that car. It's because they couldn't put sponsorship on that car, so Jack Roush and Ford are paying to sponsor that car out of pocket for that weekend, so that Greg can keep running for points. So with that sponsorship, that means they have a lot more resources that they can put into this kind of this weekend, which really says a lot for this team. And the way that Roush Fenway's mile-and-a-half program has been going all season, you know, you hear Trevor Bayne and Ricky Stenhouse and Greg talk about it all the time. This aspect right now is their mile-and-a-half program. And, you know, last weekend, all 3 Roush Fenway cars finished in the top 10. Shout out to my boy Trevor Bayne coming home third. Biffle's the right play, though. I mean, if you're at that price tag and you're trying to find a guy to pick, I really like playing one of the Roush Fenway cars, and I don't know if a lot of people are going to play these guys just ready for them to come back and ready to admit that they're back. But I think this is a weekend where they could finish all 3 in the top 10 again. And call me crazy, but, I mean, it could definitely happen the way these cars have been running. So, I mean, Biffle is a seasoned veteran. You know, he just has that experience, and with his good starting position, it's going to help you gain place differential. He is just the right play at this salary, and that's all there is to it.
sweet, dude. Guys, as you're going to see, we've been mostly in agreement on a lot of our plays this week, and it's just because, like, there are a few tracks in NASCAR where it is as clear-cut as the track history is here at Kentucky. There are the drivers that can drive here, and there are the drivers that can't, and it just really breaks down. Now, granted, we do have the repave and the new downforce package and the new tires, so that can throw things off a little bit. But if you looked in practice, the same people that we've been talking about are the same people that were running good in practice, and they're the same people that have the track history here. They just understand this track really well. With that said, I think that wraps up all our value plays for this week. And it's time for everybody's favorite segment, the Going to the Garage segment. This is where we talk trash, maybe on a driver. Maybe it's on DraftKings pricing. Maybe it's on the driver's history. Maybe it's on the equipment he or she is in. Whatever, we like to talk trash. But regardless, these are the plays you most likely do not want to make for your DraftKings lineup. Adrian, who do you have for us, for your Going to the Garage pick?
See, this is the part where I get in trouble because my going to the garage pick this weekend, guys, is Jimmy Johnson. And Jimmy Johnson's never finished outside the top 10 in Kentucky, and Poppa gave us all the beautiful stats and everything. And the fact of the matter is, the reason I picked Jimmy Johnson as my going to the garage pick is not because I don't think that team is going to be fast, not because I don't think that team can overcome the obstacles that are thrown in their way, but because there's so much work and so many things that has to get done here at Kentucky with this new surface and this new tire and this new aero package. With the 48 team having to go to a backup car, I really think that that's going to show about how much that's going to cut into their preparation time. And if there's anyone that you know can be thrown a handicap and rebound from it, it's Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson, and they've shown that with their 6 championships. But if I'm going to spend that kind of money, and the money you have to spend on Jimmy Johnson really cripples your lineup. And I'm not saying I'm not going to have some Jimmy Johnson exposure, but, you know, if I'm building my core of teams, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I'm not going towards Jimmy Johnson just because of the headache that's involved there. I think if I pick Kyle Busch around that same price tag, I don't have, you know, that kind of adversity going into the weekend like Jimmy already has, having to start, you know, in a backup car. It just seems like a web of mess that you can get away from if you don't pick Jimmy Johnson. And like I said, I'm not going to say the guy's going to the garage. He'll probably still finish top 10. But his price, he has to go out there and lead laps and going to a backup car. I'm not sure it's exactly as fast as the car they wanted to bring to the racetrack at first. So just to stay away from all that, you know, headache and, you know, monotony, I'm just going to stay away from Jimmy Johnson. I'm going to, you know, stick with our Joe Gibbs and Penske guys.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with you. I love where Jimmy Johnson, that he's consistent here, but if we're evaluating him as he's more of a cash game play than he is a tournament game play. Like I don't see him leading a lot of laps, and at his price tag, if in order for him to pay it off, he needs to lead laps and or finish top 3. And I don't. That's a lot to ask out of her, and be fastest on the track for several laps as well. That's a lot to ask out of his price tag when there's better options with a little bit better track history, right? It's not that I hate Jimmy Johnson. It's that it's basically a zero-sum game. Like, I have to trade off Kyle Busch to play Jimmy Johnson, and I don't want to do that. That's just where my head's at this week. And that's why I have no problem with you sending Johnson to the garage, even though both of us don't have a problem with who he is at this track and how good of a driver he is. It's not necessarily the play you want to make. And I think that transitions well into my guy going to the garage. And we both grabbed him here and went up for it. Maybe we're channeling our inner Liehr. But I'm giving you Kurt Busch going to the garage this week at 9,400. First, I want to tell you guys, he didn't look comfortable in that car at this new repave during practice. There were several times he was out of line on turn 3, not looking. It just seemed like he didn't know how to enter turn 3. He didn't know how to handle turn 3 once he got into it, including the last practice where he trashed his car and he's now in a backup car. I think he should be okay in the backup car, right? But once again, this is Stewart-Haas tech. This isn't Hendrick. This isn't JGR. So the backup car isn't going to be as good as the primary just because of the Stewart-Haas brand. It should be close, but it's not going to be quite what it could be if it was one of those other teams. But even if you don't like those arguments, guys, I can understand those are kind of superficial arguments for why you wouldn't want to play him. Level for you. His track history here doesn't warrant his salary at all. If you play him, I believe you're messing up because his best finish here is 6th. That's 3 spots behind where he's qualified, right? He's qualified in that 3rd position. His average finish here is 11th. That's a negative 8 points place differential-wise, plus the 33 for 11th, and that's 25 total points. At $9,400, 25 total points will kill your lineup. It's game over. I think that in and of itself is enough for why you shouldn't roster Kurt Busch this week. Plus the fact that he doesn't look comfortable in that car, and it's a backup car on top of that. Adrian, your thoughts, bud?
Are we sure that Kurt Busch is actually going to a backup car? Because
they were wheeling it off.
I think last I heard that they were going to try to fix it because the front end was decent.
Oh. Well, last I heard at the end of practice, we're filming this right after practice, after the happy hour practice, they were wheeling the backup car off the truck, but they hadn't announced officially. So,
well, fair enough. I guess that tells it then. I mean, Poppa said everything that I could say. I mean, it's just same thing with Jimmy Johnson. It's just an unnecessary headache and an unnecessary risk.
Right. And even though these two guys have decent track history here, they're not exceptional at the track history. They're not guys that win. They're not guys that lead a ton of laps at this track. I just think that with all the combination of factors, they're easier. They're guys that you maybe want to expose your lineups to once or twice. They're not guys you want to build your core around, is what we're defining going to the garage this week, guys. Wouldn't you agree?
I completely agree.
All right, guys. That wraps up our value. Even though we're a man down, we still gave you an extra value pick and an extra burning rubber pick. Now it's time for us to do the lineup section of our show, which we're the only show in the industry that gives you a lineup. But we're not trying to give you a lineup. I want to be clear about this. The reason why we do this is to show you the proper process and the thought behind building a lineup and how you want to go about it for daily fantasy NASCAR. Adrian, with that said, let's do our picks for the 20K lug nut. This is the $5 contest. Remember, guys, you will actually be competing against this lineup. If you really like this lineup, what we encourage you to do is make a variation of this lineup so you can compete against us a little bit. Adrian, I think I know where you're going to start us off, but go ahead and tell me where we need to go.
Hey, what do you say we put it up on that crispy edge?
Get us a little bit of Kyle Busch in here. I think
let's get a little rowdy.
Absolutely. I have no problem getting rowdy with a little bit of Kyle, and you know what? Let's go ahead and throw Keselowski on there as well. Let's practice.
That's a great play. I love pairing those guys because they both have such great track history. If I'm not mistaken, they both have multiple-time winners at Kentucky in the Cup Series. They just seem like the safe plays this weekend. I don't know if those two. Those are my core. I have other guys I like that are, around those two guys. Mm-hmm. But every time I go, open up a new lineup page, that's the way I start clicking is the 2 and the 18.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's just the right pairing. And, it's one of those weeks that if somehow they get caught up into a wreck or something, you're okay because you made the right play, Like,
yep.
All right, man. So we've got Kyle, Kaz. I think that's the right starting point. That gives us 7,500 remaining per. Where do you want to go next, man?
Oh, that's such a hard choice. With that much salary left, I think I really got to start thinking about going with Chase Elliott.
I mean, dude, it works, and I see exactly what you're doing. And you're going to laugh. Like, I like the Elliott play there, and I'm going to just back it up immediately with Kenseth. And it's going to leave us enough money.
There you go.
Well, I mean, dude, those are the guys we recommend, so we're putting our money where our mouth is, and I honestly like that start. Like Busch, Keselowski, Elliott, Kenseth, track history, and the way they're running, that's a great core of 4. That leaves us 6,150 remaining. Sure. And I just happened to see one of the drivers you recommended as a value that we could put on this team as well.
Does he drive the number 34 Love's Travel Stops Ford Fusion?
I do believe that is the car he's in. I think we'll go ahead and put Busch around. We'll go ahead and put Busch around this team at 5,200. And that's hilarious because it opened back up for the driver I recommended. Now, we could play, guys, Dinger's a play. He's been running really well in practice. Boyer's a play from the back of the field as his qualifying position is near the back. But that car wasn't running the best. Trevor Bayne's a play here for Roush Fenway although he's qualified near the top of the pack. Stenhouse the same. Because I told you guys to play it, and you guys know how I feel about leaving salary. It helps create unique lineups for you in NASCAR. I'm going to rock the Biffle and call that a day. I love that lineup. What do you think, man?
Yep, I really love it. I mean, it encapsulates everything that was this show, and I think it's like a nice little token. It's a nice little token that viewers can put in their pocket at the end of our show.
There you go. Now, remember, guys, we gave you tons of drivers that you can move around there a little bit. If you really like that lineup, just make a little bit of a variation. And hopefully that'll lead us all to winning some money this week in that lug nut competition. With that said, I think that wraps up a show for this week. We wish Jamie Liehr health and a speedy recovery. But it sounded like he had the flu. That's always no bueno. Adrian, say goodbye and send us out, man.
Yeah, get well to my main compadre, Jamie Liehr. It's not the same without you. I just want to thank everyone for watching. If you're still watching this long into the video, we definitely value your support and we appreciate it. We love fielding your comments on YouTube and Twitter, so send them at us. I know weekend open, so all through, Saturday, race day, at Adrian Woodruff on Twitter. It'll be in the description. Send any questions about your lineups that you have. I'll make sure to get them answered for you. Just good luck out there, guys.
Yeah, thanks again for watching, guys. Remember, if anybody's interested in sponsorship, please contact us immediately, and we'll get to work on that for you as we have sponsorship opportunities for you for our show. And thanks, guys, for watching. Remember, it's you guys are the reason why we do this. That and our love of NASCAR and trying to get more people involved in the sport. There's a good weekend this week. It's a good weekend this weekend for some racing. Let's all make some money. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.